as we do each and every week during the football season. And today's injury report is back. It's brought to you by Cape Regional Health Systems and Dr. Kevin McHale. Cape Regional Health System and Penn Orthopedics, the best of both worlds for a healthier life. For an appointment, call 609-463-CAPE or visit caperegional.com/orthopedics. Dr. Kevin McHale, who has spent time in the NFL working with the New England Patriots, and he knows the inner workings of what goes on a football sideline when an injury occurs and how these teams handle these injuries. And he's here to break down some of the major injuries that the Eagles have dealt with, including, Doc, the big one, Carson Wentz, the timeline. So many people are kind of up in the air, and I was under the impression when this happened back in December that we would not see him on September the 6th, the Thursday night. With what you're seeing and what you're hearing and what you know about this injury, which was not just one ligament tear, it was two, would you be surprised if Carson, number one, are you surprised with what you've seen from him so far up to this point?
So I am a little bit surprised at how quickly he's recovering. He looks great out there with the team and all the clips that they're showing. And we were at the practice a few days ago, brought the family up there, and it was really a great time. And he's looking great. And after the injury that he had, you would expect him to recover a little more slowly. So, you always hear the timeline 9 to 12 months for an ACL, but that's oftentimes referring to isolated ACLs. And the reason why you see a longer recovery oftentimes is when there's these added injuries. In his case, with the LCL being torn too, you need all of these ligaments to provide and work together to stabilize the knee, and it just takes so much longer to rehab them. So to see him coming along this quickly is really impressive, but it's not surprising from a guy that threw a touchdown pass with this injury to the two ligaments and acted as if there was nothing going on. So it's not too surprising to come from him, but I would not expect this from many other people.
So at this stage of the game, when he got cleared for 11 on 11, is there a message there for you?
So I think that it just means that he's progressing very well, and he hasn't hit any roadblocks. There are a lot of things that can slow down your recovery, whether it's postoperative stiffness or something, obviously, God forbid, an infection or all these different things they can have as postoperative complications. When we're talking about pro athletes, we assume everything's going to be go smoothly, and that's not always the case. But it does seem that his rehab is going as planned and that he's on track. Now, the question, though, still is on track going to be ready at 9 months post-op on game one of the regular season? Is it possible for him to play? Absolutely. It's definitely possible. He probably will be strong enough to play. But the one issue is going to be, is he going to be that same Carson Wentz that we think of when we think about Carson Wentz? You think about that, that Redskins highlight where he emerges from a pileup and goes, converts a third down. He may not have that mobility this early in the season after coming back from this kind of injury. I would expect that, we know from ACLs, it's biology. It just takes a long time for the graft to mature, to get strong, for you to regain your strength. You can continue to regain your strength after these surgeries for up to 2 years. So it's going to take him a while. So whether or not we see him on week one, it's possible, but he's definitely going to end up being a little bit more of a pocket quarterback than the typical mobile Carson Wentz that we see.
Well, obviously, he's very key. Another guy we have not seen at all is Alshon Jeffrey. Now, he is still on the PUP list, and he is about 6 months removed from a surgery to repair a torn rotator cuff, and he hasn't done a whole heck of a lot. He was seen wearing a helmet for the first time this summer. The rotator cuff injury. Tell us a little bit about that and the timetable, and do you anticipate him being ready to go?
So even though Carson Wentz did have a very severe injury, this one is even more concerning. And there's a couple of reasons. First of all, when we talk about the rotator cuff, it's different than when we talk about an ACL. An ACL is one ligament, although there's multiple ligaments in the knee. The rotator cuff is more made up of 4 tendons. Okay, so you can injure 1 tendon, 2 tendons, or all 4 of them. And it really depends on how severe the injury is as far as how far that recovery, how long the recovery is going to take. So you can have a small partial tear of one rotator cuff tendon, which can hurt and require surgery, or you can have a full thickness tear involving one tendon and a partial tear of other tendons. So there's quite a wide spectrum. And the fact that we haven't really seen him do much at all at 6 months post-op means that he definitely could have a little bit of a bigger tear, requiring some more protection and holding him back from playing, at an earlier time point. Cam Newton had a rotator cuff repair a couple years back, and he was back by he had off-season surgery to repair a partial thickness tear, and we saw him in the preseason. So for a partial thickness tear, it could be a lot quicker. The fact that we don't see him back there might mean it was a little bit of a bigger tear. We'll need a little bit longer to recover. So it may be that he stays, whether he stays in the PUP or just doesn't make it back for the first regular season is unclear, but we may not be seeing him at the beginning of the season for sure.
Now, he played a little bit apparently with that injury last year. Is playing through that something that would, keep you out longer after the fact once you finally get that worked on?
Well, it kind of depends on two things. So first of all, it just shows how tough these guys are, right? Obviously had an injury that was severe enough to warrant surgery, and he played through it the entire season, and then, helps us carry us to a Super Bowl. I think the real problem is actually that the Eagles won the Super Bowl, right? So now you're getting that off-season surgery in February and not in January, or you're out of playoff contention, maybe even a little earlier. So I think the real problem is that his rehab didn't start till so much later, and that's a big deal. Could the tear have gotten worse over the course of the season? Definitely possible. So that's also a possibility that maybe would have delayed, his ability to progress along his rehab and be back in time for the regular season this year. I'm sure he has no regrets after getting that Super Bowl ring, but it absolutely plays a role in why we're talking about him not being ready for Week 1.
Dr. Kevin McHale, Cape Regional, is with us here, our weekly injury report. Another one, Brandon Graham, he just kind of got activated from the PUP list, but he had surgery to address a high ankle sprain. Is it rare to get surgery for a sprained ankle? I mean, it seems that you don't hear that often, but that must mean he was really having some issues with that ankle to take it to the level to get surgery.
Yeah, so in general, it's definitely rare to get a surgery for an ankle sprain, but it is indicated in some cases, particularly these severe high ankle sprains. And we don't want to kind of group all these together. So a low ankle sprain, we're talking about those ligaments that kind of connect your lower leg bones to the foot, and a high ankle sprain, we're talking about the ligaments that actually connect your two lower leg bones, your tibia and your fibula. So when you have this high ankle sprain, they're the ones that take longer. We see players out for a longer period of time, sometimes up to 4 to 6 weeks when managed non-operatively, and we just don't see them back as quickly, and maybe it's lingering and kind of impairs their performance when they first get back, much more so than a low ankle sprain. So in his case, he had, I think if I remember correctly, Christmas night he injured it. He had a couple weeks off, but he was back in time for the first round of at least the Eagles' first round of the playoffs after their bye week. So he may have just rushed that recovery a little bit and probably didn't have enough non-operative management or enough time to rest it and allow it to rehab to really let it heal. So it's possible that he might have had just a little bit more of a severe injury, didn't give it enough time because they were in the playoffs, and now he's dealing with it in the off season. For these high ankle sprains, you can put these special kind of suture button devices across to connect the tibia to fibula, tibia to the fibula, so that way that ligament, the syndesmotic ligament, can heal in or scar in. It does take a few months after the surgery to kind of get back to full strength, but I'm not surprised that he wasn't ready for the beginning of training camp. But for him, I think we'll be seeing him Week 1.
So, and a lot of these guys, right? You said you think he might be that he should be ready for Week 1, but not a lot of off-season work. How you expect a guy like that who has the ankle surgery to be like 100%, or is that something you got to work into? Because if you're not, that's the thing. These guys aren't doing anything. They're not playing in any of these. I guess they practice, or some of them aren't even practicing. They're doing very light stuff, but it just seems in this day and age, Doc, that a lot of these teams are being so cautious. They don't even want them doing anything. They just want to get you to that first week.
Yeah, it's a very different now because injuries are such a big deal, and they really want to protect their athletes before, Week 1. It doesn't mean they're not, training though. They're doing a ton of training out behind the scenes.
Right. That's what I was trying to. That's what I was trying to get. Like, when these guys, they say they're not practicing or they're not playing in these games, you've seen them before, that they are still getting their bodies ready to play for a Week 1 game.
Oh, absolutely. You see in the off season and in the regular season, the guys with these injuries are constantly in the training room, constantly getting the rehab with the trainers as well as in the strength and conditioning room. They are doing a ton of rehab although they might not be on the field where all the reporters are taking videos, they're doing a ton of work to get their bodies ready so that way they're at full strength when they get back out there. The biggest thing is when we talk about rookies and the earlier or lower experienced players getting back, they need that more time on the field to kind of just learn everything and get back out, and it kind of plays more of a role in their ability to play at the NFL level. But someone like Brandon Graham, who knows the playbook, understands all this stuff, he's just working on getting himself in shape, and he'll be ready to go Week 1 as long as there isn't any problems with his post-op recovery.
All right, the Eagles, of course, tonight. None of those guys will perform in the preseason. They should be ready to go. At least 2 out of 3, maybe Wentz. A question mark for opening night. We shall keep our eye on that. And, of course, Dr. Kevin McHale from Cape Regional Health System and Penn Orthopedics, the best of both worlds for a healthier life. Make an appointment. Call 609-463-CAPE or visit caperegional.com. orthopedics. Well, a lot of injuries to start the season off, and we haven't even begun yet, but we'll bring you the injury report each week here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Doc, appreciate it.
All right. I'm excited to be back. Looking forward to the season get started.